Welcome to It's Not Really About Dance, a podcast on all the things we're learning about raising healthy, happy, and wholesome kids and teenagers in today's world through the context of competitive dance. I'm Beth.
And I'm Sarah, and we believe that competitive kids activities are about way more than performance or awards. They're about teaching resilience, humility, confidence, and heart. Each episode will use the context of dance to dive into real talk, practical tips, and stories to inspire you to parent with purpose. Hello, and welcome back to It's Not Really About Dance, episode 9. Beth, how are you today?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How's life? Have you enjoyed a little bit slower pace? Maybe?
Yes. Well, full disclosure, we're recording this over Christmas break. It's not actually the New Year, so if any earth-shattering news has happened that we don't know about because we're in the past, sorry about that.
It's like weird time travel.
We think it's a Happy New Year because we're not there yet.
Yeah. We're just assuming it will be. Okay, well, in today's episode, this is going to be the first episode in our series that we're going to call What It's Really About. And in this series, we're going to spotlight some specific character traits that we try to instill in our children and highlight how we have found opportunities to talk through those character traits and teach our kids those things through the lens of competitive dance. So some of these may translate to other competitive activities, and I'm sure that they will in a lot of ways, and some may not based on some of the experiences we've lived and had with our kids. But our hope is that this will just get everyone thinking about how to see these opportunities and how to see these life lessons and things that are already right in front of us and have conversations with your kids like right there in those real life moments. So today, the character trait we're going to talk about is cooperation. Oh, we did that well. That was unplanned, guys. So the easy definition that we use when we communicate this with kids, just kind of in our jobs and things, not that our kids can recite this at home necessarily, but maybe yours can. But that definition is working together to do more than we could do alone. So, Beth, why don't you kick us off and share a little bit, a story about how you have taught your kids a life lesson in cooperation through dance?
Sure. I think one of the first lessons related to cooperation that I've seen my kids learn at dance would be this concept that the finished product and the performance is better when we're not concerned about ourselves excelling, but concerned about the whole group.
Yes.
And like what is all coming together. I started like thinking back to how I've watched my kids progress through the years in this. And the first instance of it, I remember. So my now 14-year-old, when she was about 7, she was not on competition team yet, but she was in a jazz class. And they had this dance, and it was this cute little purple sequin outfit to a song from like one of the Sing movies.
I think I remember this dance.
My oldest has always been one who can remember choreography really well. She is the one that they'll call on her, like, what were we doing in this part, kind of thing. So she can remember choreography and also has really good musicality. Like she can stay with the music really well. And, at 7, not everybody is quite there in those things.
Right.
Very age appropriately. They're still growing in that. But she like knew where she was supposed to be and what the choreography was. And she was like the only one with the correct timing. And everybody else was off. But they were like all following another kid that was in the front. But my kid was like, no, I know what's right and I'm going to do it. So she looked like she was completely wrong and off. And when we watched the video back, it's like, well, you look like you're the one that doesn't know the dance.
Yep.
And she's like, I was doing it right. And I think it was just like a little lesson that she hadn't quite gotten yet and it hadn't clicked. When we're working together for something, it's going to present better if we're all together, regardless of whether you're right or not. So it's like being willing to like not be the one who's right is kind of a big deal. And my youngest, who is 9, when she was, I think she was only like 4 or 5 at this time. She was in a routine where they were still in the young division where they would sometimes have a teenager on the stage with them in their spring show doing the dance. And it would be like a character in whatever the spring show was. And so in this case, they were dancing to a Disney song. And so
Mhm.
they had a teenager standing front center doing the choreography as this character. And then all the little, 4 or 5 year olds, whatever they were behind this teenager doing their dance. And it was the same exact story. It was like the teenager, because this kid is in like 12 dances probably, and leading a group of 5 year olds is the least of her concerns.
Right.
She was not perfect. She had, misremembered some of the
Right.
choreography, and all these other little 5 year olds are just following the teenager. Not my kid.
That teenager probably could have done any number of things, and the majority of those kids would have just
Right.
copied her.
Right. No, my kid was not going to follow. She was going
She
to
had to
do
be
it
right.
right. Yes. And so same thing. We watched the video back, and looks like she's the one wrong, even though she was doing it right. And she has 2 older sisters. And so when we're watching the video back and she starts naming, Miss So and so was doing it wrong, so I had to do it right. Her sisters, being older and having learned this
Yes.
lesson, were like, you follow whoever's in the front.
Yes. So
Because
you look together.
it will look better when we're all together.
Yes.
It's kind of weird though. Like, as they've gotten older, they've gotten so much better at that, and like really watching each other and just working as a unit to create something awesome. But so my oldest was also, just this past year, she was in a trio for competition. And there was one event where the crowd was screaming so loud that they couldn't hear the music. And my daughter was in the front of the like pyramid shape. And so it was so nerve-wracking to her because she's got such good musicality. She relies on that music.
She had to figure out when to start.
She had to figure out when to start, what she was doing, and she couldn't hear.
Knowing that the other 2 were going to follow her lead because they had learned to work together.
Except that it didn't work perfectly.
Mhm.
Like, they didn't necessarily all work as a unit. It was like the first event of the year kind of thing. They were still getting their groove. They ran off. They felt like they had done awful. They ended up placing first overall because they're great dancers.
Right.
But it was definitely a major learning experience for them. They came back in the studio the next week, even at 13 years old, they're having this conversation that, like, we have to just, whoever's in the front, even if they're off, we've got to work together and follow them. So anyway, I think all of our kids have like really gotten a lot better about that, and even learned how to kind of improvise in situations. I know my youngest, when she was 7 last year, she was a party boy in the Nutcracker. It's like 20 minutes of acting basically and being on the stage. And there's this part in our choreography where the party boys are playing these little instruments. They're like toy instrument kind of things. And at one point, all the party parents come and take all their instruments from them. And my daughter's party parents never collected her instrument from her. And so she's holding, I don't even remember, a horn or a drum or something in her hand. And it gets to another part of the choreography, and she needs to not have that instrument in her hand. And the parents are like, herding the kids around. And she just, like, in the moment, did a thing where she just made a face like, okay, I know we got to quit playing. And then just went and put her instrument in the box.
She worked it into the story.
I know, she made it, which for 7 years old
impressive.
I was pretty impressed. But so her teachers were like complimenting her on like being a smart dancer and learning how to read the room and work with each other. And again, she could have made the choice like she did when she was 4 or 5 and be like, I'm doing it right. And until you come and take this instrument
here,
I'm just going to stand here. And that would not have looked as good. It wouldn't have been cooperating and looking as like a finished product. But by her like playing into and just making it work, it created a good transition, and it looked purposeful. Nobody knew from the audience that it wasn't supposed to be that way. So I would say the moments I've been proudest of my kids in these kinds of scenarios are the ones where they work together to overcome a snafu like that, and they back each other up even when things don't go as planned. That's been like a really big thing. And I think that's a life lesson because, sometimes in your workplace, your teammates are going to forget things, or you're going to forget things, and stuff's not going to go right. And we have to make a choice of whether we want to be right and highlight someone else's mistake, or whether we care more about each other and instead of making ourselves be over and above and better than other people,
Right.
the whole thing is going to look bad in that case. And we make it more about working together to fill in the gaps for each other for the sake of a better product or whatever you're working
Mhm.
on. I know at my workplace, I'm a children's minister and we have kids in like all different parts of the building and we've grown really fast and we have one part of the building that's like far from everything else where we have a group that meets and it has become a thing where it's like none of us seem to be able to remember to put the chairs away in that room at the end of our Sunday and we just have to work together because we could be like, "You didn't clean up the chairs."
Right.
Instead, just anytime any of us see it, we're like, "Oh, the chairs aren't put up yet. I guess I should
Yeah.
do that." And it's just like a way of living and
Yeah.
caring for each other. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
That's awesome. So
yeah.
good.
What about you? Have you got a lesson that you've learned about
Yes.
cooperation?
Yes. The way that has played out recently with my oldest daughter is just kind of the idea that it doesn't matter if you are the star of the show or have some featured part, whether that's like a lead role in Nutcracker or even just in a dance for a routine. If you're not super pleased with your placement in the group, if you feel like you're in the back and you don't deserve that it's really more about the entire production or what the dance looks like altogether and less about one person having this moment of glory or this time where they are being in the spotlight or featured in some way. I know that it has gotten better as my daughter has gotten older and has encountered this enough times. But when she was a little bit younger, she would come home, after the big week where they would learn all the choreography for competition routines, just kind of they were in the studio for really long hours. Everyone's tired and they're just learning, 4 and 5 routines in a matter of days, largely with the same people too. So emotions are, running high, but her coming back and expressing frustration with where she was placed in the formations or feeling like the same people were getting noticed and she wasn't getting noticed. And we've had to have a lot of conversations about, you can be in the back of the dance and that doesn't speak to your abilities. It doesn't speak to your identity or who you are. She is going to dance the same if she is on the back row versus if she is on the front row. And that is 100% giving it their all. And every dancer on their team would do the same thing, and that is cooperating and working together. Just because you're not in a featured spot doesn't mean that that gives you permission to phone it in or not work as hard because you're giving up or feeling like your coach or the choreographer is not seeing you the way you want to be seen. But part of being part of that team and that group is giving it your best effort, regardless of the part you were cast in, or if you're just in the core or if you have a leading role, that you're going to dance the same and put in the same amount of effort no matter what. And that is what is good for the group. It has been that's not what they want to hear in the moment when they are upset about it, but the more times that we encounter those things and have those conversations, she is finally getting to a point where she has learned that that doesn't matter, and she's, pleased to be part of whatever routine she is in and can look at all things as a learning experience. Or like, even if you're not in the front, you are still getting this opportunity to learn from this choreographer, but for our listeners, they've had a routine here recently where they have gotten to work with a really well-known choreographer, someone outside of their studio. That has been a big deal and is a really cool new opportunity for them to experience. And so rather than her being focused on where is this choreographer going to put me, she went into the whole thing being ready to just learn and take it as a cool opportunity that she was getting that not everybody on the competition team gets to have. And so just kind of framing that mindset up front helps her to be a better team member, just ready to go in and cooperate and know that it isn't just about her, which I think that is kind of similar to the stories you were just sharing, but just kind of in a different aspect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I mean, we encounter that all the time in real life. That is like, I can work super hard at my job and not get recognized for it. And that's okay. I mean, being in the library at school, I don't have a class all the time. And so I think it's easy for sometimes classroom teachers who are with kids all day long to look at my job as easier because I don't have a class of kids, all day, every day. And that's okay. At first, that really hurt my feelings because I felt like people thought that I wasn't a hard worker or wasn't good at my job because my busy looks different than other people's busy. But I've just had to learn to be okay with knowing myself that I'm doing a good job and that I am working hard and that I'm good at my job without needing somebody else to validate that for me. And that is part of cooperation. Like I am cooperating and making my school a better place and helping our students become well rounded students by offering something different in what I teach than what the classroom teachers do. And so I'm glad that my daughters are learning this same life lesson in dance because it's going to prepare them better when they are in a job. And especially as adults, we are very rarely validated in what we do and in our work. That comes so infrequently. It feels like we have to learn how to be okay with ourselves and know that what we are contributing is valuable, even if nobody else is telling us that.
Sure, I've watched young adults in the real world who like don't know how to handle those things. And I
Yeah.
think our kids having the experiences that they are helps them kind of get through that hump a little bit younger.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It's important to know how to work together without you needing to be the star of the show all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got?
Yeah, it's funny how because we're all talking about cooperation.
Yes.
Like they just kind of like tether on each other. So I feel like a lesson that we've learned about cooperation, it kind of ties in with what you were saying that like everybody has a part to play to
Mhm.
contribute to what is going on. But and that's so true like about learning that it's like you don't need to be affirmed and validated in everything. But also just in the fact that like having one star doesn't make something great.
Yes.
And so every person's part is important, like you said, and it's even better when they're all together.
Yes.
And so having like a bunch of people synced up and together is always more impressive to me than one single star.
Well, that is like I think about the Rockettes. Like their
Yes.
whole thing is precision and togetherness that all 30 whatever of them that there are, they look like one single unit. There's never a star. And they are like one of the most famous dancing groups that exist.
Like when we go to dance competitions, productions are so much more fun to watch than
Yes.
like
Then solos.
duos and trios. I mean, if there is one, there is 72
Yes.
teen contemporary duos and
They
trios.
start to run together.
And it's like, I feel like it's kind of all the same.
Mhm.
But those productions where you have everybody. So, a production, if you're not familiar with this, that means they have more than 25 dancers in this routine. And so it's like kind of like everybody's in it. And then when they can get everybody in
Mhm.
sync and like working towards the same thing, it is just a joy to watch. If you've ever been to like a Broadway show and you've watched their big numbers that have the whole cast, it feels like that.
There's so much energy to those too because of
Yes.
how many people there are.
Yes. Now, they grow a ton when they are put on the spot and it hinges on them.
Yes.
So, like those experiences of competing solos, duos, trios, even small groups, it puts a pressure on them that's kind of a healthy pressure. So, those are good things for them to experience for sure. But what it really, I think, does is builds their ability to make the larger groups better.
Yes.
So, like a kid who has spent a year having to do a solo and getting critiques on that,
Mhm.
they it really helps build them to apply that to when they work with the group. And a bunch of soloists don't necessarily make a great routine, having everybody kind of do their own thing. But if kids are able to work together in a group and make something great, then when they're given the responsibility of doing a solo, duo, or trio, they can really take ownership of
Mhm.
what they're bringing. And so that's been cool. I think I've watched this play out in the way that like our minis typically start with a routine where it's all of the minis together, but it has little like every kid gets what we call a sprinkle.
Mhm.
They get a little featured moment to do something that like showcases what they can do. but it's a small part of a unit that's going together. And then a lot of the routine is them actually working together with similar choreography, if not identical choreography,
Mhm.
all across the way. Um, I think that is helping them to build that in a way that, like, if we just stuck them all up there one after another in solos, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
really
yes.
work the same way. But then what's cool is, like, often, and again, this is just our experience. I know every studio works differently, and there's probably great stories of how this develops in other contexts that take a different approach. All we know is what we've seen. And so our kids start with larger group routines. And then as they grow in maturity, they get chosen to be in smaller group routines.
Mhm.
That's kind of how it works for us. But what's really neat, I remember my oldest daughter. So she was, of course, in some large group routines early on. But then when she was about 9 or 10, got chosen for a small group routine, and it's this cluster of 8 kids that all have really great talent. And what's really cool is to watch you take a bunch of individually talented kids, but you connect the dots between them, and they are just these incredible routines.
Mm.
I have almost like tapes playing in my mind of these magical moments where they're like, taking on like characters. We do a lot of musical theater stuff with our kids do. And so they're taking on character roles. One kid might be able to do an aerial in the group, but having that kid do an aerial just shows that that kid can do an aerial.
Mm.
We build to, my daughter was in a group, 6 kids do an aerial perfectly in sync with their legs completely in the air at the same time, upside down at the exact same time. And it's like, okay, now that is impressive.
Yes. Yeah.
We learned how to dance together.
Yes.
But like one kid doing that is just singling out a soloist. That's
Mhm.
just the difference. And it's been really neat to watch when you get those photos back where everybody is all together and then the featured parts complement each other.
Yes.
And it creates this beautiful piece of work. And I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a studio that we have encountered at some competitions we've been to in the past that they had one of those large production routines basically for every age level. And it was like across the board, every age group in their productions were so in sync and so precise that that was so indicative of the quality of their choreographers and their coaches and the people who were working with them day in and day out, that they were able to get those kids from minis to seniors to be able to pull off these large routines where they were all so together. That is so much more impressive than one kid who can do a trick out of
Right.
a group. Like
Yeah.
those are the things that you remember.
Yes. When they learn how to do that in the context of a dance routine, it starts to translate into other things too.
Mhm.
To work together, to like complement each other, and to bring their gifts to all do something together. It's developing a skill of ownership in them. So, a cool perk is, when they're in a dance studio for several years and they're on a competition team for several years, it's different from their school friends that change from year to
Mhm.
year. Like they like are tracking with the same people over time. And as happens, as you know people more, you will do more with them.
Right.
Like you build trust. It's like you got people's phone numbers now. Like just stuff like that. They start to like spend more time together and get to know each other more and just trust and depend on each other a lot. And so I've watched my kids' friends just on their own develop like, we're going to do a bake sale to raise money for this charity thing. No parent is involved in it at all. They just plan it. And I'm just, sometimes my kids come to me with these ideas and they're like, my dance friends, we're going to do a babysitting service and people are going to come and drop their kids off. And like, I'm like, who is going to bring their kids to y'all? And where are you
And
doing
right,
this?
whose house is this happening at? And did
What?
you volunteer me?
Right. And it's like, so it fizzles out and it never happens because there's no legs under it,
Yes.
And so I'm
Yeah.
just like, cool, let me know when that actually develops.
Right.
And it never does. So they get these ideas, but that's a learning experience too.
Mhm.
It's like it's just such a life lesson. Learning to work with each other and bring your gifts, and you learn how to see things all the way through
Mhm.
to make sure it all comes together. And so, I mean, my kids have pulled it off. There was one time that my oldest daughter and several dance friends, I've actually done it many times, but they created a bunch of crafts and one girl was like, "Oh, there's this couple in the front of our neighborhood that lets people set up lemonade stands in their front yard anytime they want. Let's go ask them if we can do this." And they'll go coordinate it all and like make it happen. And they're like creating flyers on Canva. I mean, it's just full realization of what they've practiced in the studio of bringing their gifts and working together. And then it just translates to where they grow into learning how to execute projects, which is obviously a great life
Yes,
skill.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Got something else?
I do. Okay. So my next one with cooperation is learning to work through frustrations with people who are part of the same team that you are on, specifically if someone else is not progressing or learning at quite the pace that you are, and learning to have patience with those people through the process. So, the kind of first story with this is my younger daughter, yours too, this past year, they had a big production number of the minis. So it was like 30 something dancers, maybe more.
Oh,
But
the junior
the
production. So it
junior
was like
production,
minis
minis
and
and juniors.
juniors.
Yes, the
Yes.
junior production. So it's a ton of kids. Basically, at our studio, everyone is on competition team who wants to be. They don't cut anyone, and everyone makes a big group for most years. That hasn't been true every single year, but this year, that junior production was every kid, minis to juniors, was
Like
in this
12 and
production. 12
under.
and under, they were all in it. And so, as you can imagine, there were these lots of peels and people coming on and off stage at different times. And my younger daughter was getting so frustrated because another dancer was in her spot, like not moving out of the way quick enough or not getting to her mark on stage at the time she needed to be. And so, my younger daughter's first reaction was, I have to hurry up and get there before she does to stake my claim in this space. But then, similar to your earlier stories, like she was off timing because she was trying to beat this kid who was, it was like one row was moving off stage and then my younger daughter's group was moving in. So she kind of was like, if I hurry up and get there, it will remind her that she's got to move on. Even though it wasn't really time for her to move off stage, she was like trying to get there too soon.
I need to rewatch these videos now because I don't remember this.
The funny thing is you can't even see it because it's one of the parts
Oh.
where she's like moved way to the back. So you don't even notice that it's happening, which I tried to tell her. I was like, no one knows except for you. It doesn't matter. But it was just that particular dancer that was standing in her spot was less experienced. She had not been on competition team for quite as long. Like she just did not know the ropes about these big production numbers and that it's important for you to be in your spot on time because somebody else is coming in right behind you. Like you've got to be aware of your personal space, like my younger daughter is, who has been doing this for a long time. So teaching her that that kid was not doing it to be mean. It wasn't because she was like not wanting to give up her spot on the stage to someone else. She just didn't know. She just had not developed that skill yet, even though that person was a little bit older than my daughter. And like all of those things are fine.
Right.
Just teaching her that she had to be patient with that other person's learning process and that she could not get mad or frustrated and that she absolutely could not try to rush on stage because then she's not doing the right thing anymore. And then certainly not to say something to her because at first she was like, I'm going to talk to her about it. And I was like, do not do that.
There are other people who have that job.
Yes, that is not your job. So just learning the patience in that moment with that. And then same thing, my older daughter, just knowing like when they are learning these big pieces of choreography, again, production numbers, production routines, because there's so many kids, they can be a lot longer. They have, most competition dances, they're anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes long, but the big production routines,
Like 8 to 10
they
minutes.
can be 8 to 10 minutes. So that's a lot of choreography for them to know and for them to learn. And most of the time, not everybody is on stage for the entire 8 to 10 minutes. They will kind of come in and do, there are points when everyone is, but most of the time a production will tell a story. So if it's a musical theater production, it may be like, okay, for this one little segment of this one song, this group of dancers is on stage and this other group is off in the wings, maybe changing costumes, which is what we have encountered. But having patience in those moments when it is not your turn to learn the choreography, when you have to wait because the choreographer is working with another group that you are not in, that is okay. This is still contributing to the good of the entire group, of people learning the parts that they need to learn. If there are people in that group that are taking longer to retain the choreography than you feel like they should, that it's okay and you are able to practice your patience and to wait. That's part of being cooperative, is knowing when it is your turn and waiting on other people when it is not your turn.
Sure. Spinning it in a way of you can be paying attention and watching that choreography because you never know if somebody's going to break their leg and you might have to swoop in and take
Right.
their spot.
Yes, and that is now a skill that my older daughter has learned, especially, I mean, we were talking about this the other day with Nutcracker. As they start teaching them multiple sides of the stage, they might learn one routine from both directions of the stage so that they can be swings, essentially, if someone is out sick or hurt, that you have to be prepared, even if it's not asked of you, to be ready to step in and help, again, the good of the group if something were to happen. So she has learned that. And that comes with maturity too, of course, the ability to be patient. But I say that to kids at school all the time. You know, if they finish something early, they're like, what do I do now? What do I do now? I'm like, you're going to practice being patient for just a minute while everybody catches up, and you can do it and it's okay. But I know adults who are not patient and need to learn that skill.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sure.
So, all right. Got anything else?
Yes, my last one is it's funny again, they tag on to each other, but this is a different angle that the world doesn't revolve around me. This is just like a part of cooperation. And sometimes cooperation looks like doing what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes for dancers, parents, even coaches, teachers.
Yep.
Like everybody being a part of this is sometimes going to have to do something that they don't want to do. So for kids, it might look like you're being asked to do all right side turns and you're a lefty because everybody else can go better to the right. So we need to all be in sync. You can't go the other direction,
Right.
even if that's less strong for you and you feel like you don't look as good doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might have to stand somewhere that you don't want to in the formation. You've talked about that
Yep.
already. You might have to dance with someone that you don't particularly care for.
Yes.
So kids can get put in groups, especially smaller groups, with people that maybe are just not their favorite people. That's just part of life. I mean, we all have to do that. Is
Yes.
work with people that may not be our favorite people. And how can we do that with kindness and patience
Mm-hmm.
and still all bring what we need to do to get the thing done. For parents, it might look like you're being asked to get your kids there on a Sunday for a rehearsal when you would rather come on a Saturday. I mean, for me, I work for a church. Like, I don't even know how many times my kids have had to be there at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, and that's hard. But it's just part of cooperating. And for a lot of other people, that's a great time. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we do. We find a way to cooperate with it, and we have our own limits of what we're able to participate in, but cooperating in that way, it might be that you are assigned to a less than ideal time slot for your kid to compete at an
Mm-hmm.
event or to attend awards. Sometimes the minis have awards at 9:30, 10 p.m. inexplicably.
It is not always convenient.
Right. It's not always convenient. I remember one year it was a competition only event. And so there weren't convention classes or anything like that. And everybody was on Saturday except for the junior production. And that was on Sunday at 7 p.m. So it was like we were finished with everything on Saturday. And then we had to be back Sunday at 7 p.m. And again, it's not ideal. It's just part of cooperating
Yep.
in this industry. You might be asked to learn some crazy hairstyle or makeup routine. We have done lots of those. And it's part of cooperating. And when you get that sense of accomplishment that you were a part of something bigger, it really is magical and amazing. Every single time that we have done a painful hairstyle or makeup regimen, it looks amazing.
It does.
In the end.
Yep.
So,
And then we always talk about it. I was like,
yes,
remember that time we had to do whatever crazy thing?
we've done some creepy stuff like to go with, themes that relate to that. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So, for coaches, it might be that you have to skip a favorite event for the year because it's the same weekend as the prom. If like a bunch of your dancers have a conflict, that can be frustrating, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
that you have
Mm-hmm.
to work around that. Or like we had a guest choreographer come the week of finals for our kids this year.
Yep.
It's not ideal, part of cooperating, and we just had to schedule it after school. I'm sure our coaches and teachers would have rather done it earlier in the day, but our kids could not check out of school because it was finals week.
Yeah.
So they were having to do it in the evening.
You
Um,
just adjust and control what you can and show up for your team when you need to.
right. You might have to modify your expectations to accommodate what kids can reasonably master in the time before competition. I'm sure having an awesome vision as a choreographer of the way this is going to play out, and then you get this group of kids, and it's just like, oh, this is not working. We are going to have to pivot. Or you had some kid who's like an amazing dancer that you thought was going to be on your team that year, and then they end up, for whatever reason, not coming back.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust all of that kind of stuff. You might have to make adjustments for things to be more reasonably affordable or accessible for families on your team. Sometimes a great grand vision is just not something that people can do. And so for all of these, for kids being asked to do something that wasn't the way they wanted, parents having to jump through hoops and, meet the expectations, and coaches and teachers having to kind of bend, stubbornly digging your heels in when somebody doesn't respond the way you want, or like just bailing, like, fine, I'm not doing
Yeah.
this.
Just quitting when you don't get your way.
It really models the opposite of cooperation for our
Yeah.
kids. And in those moments when things are inconvenient, like, obviously, again, there's a line, and so we don't have to be complete doormats
Right.
in any of this, and it's not that we never advocate for ourselves and our needs, because that's part of cooperation too, is, like, voicing the give and take on both ends. Everybody needs to communicate that stuff, but never being willing to compromise, like,
Right.
it's not showing, like, our kids what real life looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because in real life, we all have to bend to our own preferences at times. And we all have to compromise and cooperate just for the sake of the greater good.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of people involved in this.
And it doesn't mean that you have to feel great about it or like it,
No.
but knowing that it's the right choice and doing the hard thing because it's right.
Yes, exactly. So, you have one more?
Yes, I've got a couple of honorable mentions here that I will not spend too long on, but one of them, and I feel like this has come up in the past and other things, but is celebrating someone else's win and being excited for your team, even if that means you didn't, especially at these competitions when we have multiple small groups in the same age category. It means that their group might be going up against their friend's group, and not being competitive about that. If one group scores higher than the other one, not getting upset, but recognizing that it is a win for your team and your
Yes.
studio as a whole, even though maybe your group was not the one to win that time, that you can still be happy and celebrate part of your team, even if it's a thing that you were not directly a part of. The other thing is receiving feedback with respect and dignity. I mean, in competition dance, they are constantly getting feedback on their performance, on their technique, and even in class from their coaches as they're learning these things, and not getting offended by getting a correction, but taking that as a learning opportunity and knowing that when they improve, it helps benefit the team, because you want every dancer on your team to be excellent, because then the whole team is excellent and everyone wins that way. So, not grumbling or getting mad when you're getting corrected, that means that that teacher believes in you and knows you can do better, and taking that and applying it rather than getting upset. Any honorable mentions from you?
No, I think we've covered a lot, and I think it's neat how they all kinda tied in together.
Yeah, by cooperation.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Well, now that we've tied this up with a nice little bow, Beth, since it's not really about dance, what is it about for you right now?
So this is a thing that kind of happens for me in this winter season every year, is we get to this stage of the year, and my husband is like, what are we going to do for summer vacation? And so we start dreaming of things that we cannot afford,
Yes,
that, like,
which is step one in the
it's
process.
so fun. Like, so I've, like, just found myself lately scrolling Pinterest. Like, I'm
Okay.
like, top destinations while your kids are tweens and teens, you know, like just stuff like that.
And what are they?
Oh, I don't even know.
Oh.
The thing that I want to do and like I cannot get my kids around to. My brother's family does this stuff all the time, and a lot of people do. And for whatever reason, I have Troop Beverly Hills in my house. Doing like outdoorsy exploration, national park kind of stuff. Keep trying to find a way to spin, like
Glamping.
going out west and seeing some just amazing parts of creation.
Yeah.
But I gotta get it like, you know, like
You gotta make it fancy.
I have 3 girls with very expensive taste and not a lot of tolerance for dirt. This is like what we're working with here. So, you know, we have been annual pass holders at Disney this year. It was a new thing that we did because we had like 3 trips planned for different purposes. One of them being for your birthday coming up, which we're going to do. So we still have another trip in the books, but we have to decide by the summer if we're going to renew that and have it be an ongoing thing. And there's just some other parts of the world that we want to see
Totally.
and that it's hard to afford to do if you're also doing all the Disney
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So just we're looking at tropical things and city life things. And I know I took my oldest to New York for her 12th birthday, and my middle one turns 12 this year. And so that's kind of something in the books, but it might not be for everybody. So yeah, I'm like looking at all the travel stuff right now, which is really fun.
That's so fun.
Yeah. What about for you?
Well, post Christmas always gets me a little bit sad. I do like to take my decorations down early because I feel like I need to regain control of my house and the clutter and the mess. But then after that, it's just, you know, this is a season where things are gray and dreary. And I love having like the sparkling Christmas lights. And there's so many things to look forward to. I find January and February are often kind of depressing, really, because it's cold and all the excitement has stopped suddenly. And in the past, we have always started competition season pretty early in January. And so that was like our next fun thing. We always try in our house to talk about, like, well, what's the next thing you're looking forward to? Like, not to not live in the moment, but just to kind of have something slightly off in the future that you're excited about that helps you get through kind of the harder, slower days. And that has been hard here lately. Like, our competition season is starting much later than normal this year. We don't have any in January or
Well,
February.
we have like a in-town convention, like with some guests, but it feels very
It's
different.
not that, yeah. I mean, it's
They're
not
not
going out of
competing.
town. Right. No costumes, no fun times with your friends in a hotel.
Right.
Kind of thing. So,
Or that rush of like accomplishment. You know,
Yes.
that's not there.
or the excitement of like, it's finally time for me to get to showcase these dances that they've been working on for months and months and months. So we are just maybe vacation planning for the summer is what I need.
See, there you go.
Yeah. We're trying to find, that has been on the forefront of my mind is what is going to be the fun thing that keeps us going in January and February. So I've been trying to think of like, do we have time to do a little weekend something at some point? I don't know. Like you said, we're doing
Springtime's going to be tough.
Springtime is gonna be tough.
Because competition season is
Yes.
hitting later this year.
and
See,
it's
we're
condensed.
usually done with competition season in like March.
Right.
And we are not going to be this
No.
year.
So that's the thing. It's just like budgeting purposes.
Yes.
I feel like we're just going to have to go easy in January and February because we have so many big things happening
And you have a
in the
big
spring. And I
birthday
have
trip.
a big birthday trip. So that is what we're excited about. I think maybe outfit planning for the birthday trip.
Oh, our kids have already done all that.
I know, but we have to actually find the things now. So we have been looking online for some Disney
They're
bounding
doing that
things.
thing right now that we talked about of like they're working together to plan the thing, that they
Yes.
have no money, no driver's license, or no
Oh no, I just
capacity
get
of actually
I get
pulling
links
off.
sent to me. Hey, can you buy this? But it's like an athletic dress that is $80, and I'm like, no, I cannot. We can find the Amazon version of that pink athletic dress for you to be Ham from Toy Story. We will not be spending $80 on that. So that's it. Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope that this gave you some good insight, some things to think about. And please follow us on Instagram at Not Really About Dance, or you can email us if you have questions or topics you want us to cover, notreallyaboutdance@gmail.com. And please share with your friends. If you have other people that you know whose kids are in dance or competitive sports and you feel like they might enjoy our podcast, we would really appreciate it if you send it along their way. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.